Welcome back to Deep Dive Cuttlefish. We always try to bring you the stuff that really matters, the insights that'll help you make sense of the future, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Today, we're diving into something huge, the whole relationship between labor and capital, how we work and who benefits. And AI is shaking things up big time.
Big time. I mean, for so long, it's been this pretty straightforward equation.
Yeah.
People put in the effort, the labor, and capital, like tools, resources, factories, that all helps boost productivity. They
Right.
kind of work together.
Yeah, like a team, right?
Exactly, a partnership. But AI is like, well, it's changing the rules of the game.
It's not just helping us out anymore. Machines are doing things that used to need, like, human-level smarts.
For sure.
So the big question for all of us is this. In a world where AI is calling more and more shots, how do we as individuals hang on to our economic power? Make sure that the wealth that's created is shared fairly.
And this isn't some far-off sci-fi problem either. It's happening now.
Yeah, it's here.
AI is already drafting legal documents, composing music, handling those complex logistics operations, you know the ones,
The ones.
and doing it all way more efficiently and cheaper than any human team ever could.
So it's like the cost of brain power, of labor itself, whether it's your mind or your muscles, it's all getting cheaper thanks to automation.
Yeah, yeah.
This is a total rethink of what human labor even means in the economy. So in this deep dive, we're getting into the core insights, like what does this all really mean? The potential problems, obviously, we've got to talk about those. And most importantly, some practical ways we can navigate this whole crazy changing world.
Right, like how do we actually adapt?
Adapt, yeah. So maybe we can start by looking at how AI is rewriting the whole rule book on economic advantage, right? This idea of a compute-driven economy. It's fascinating. It's turning the whole traditional idea of comparative advantage on its head.
Okay, let's break that down a little.
Yeah, let's break it down. So historically, like way back, a country's economic strength usually came from specializing in what it could make or do best,
Right.
right? Often that was because of cheap labor or tons of natural resources.
Right, think like textile mills in countries with tons of cheap labor or oil-rich nations, classic examples.
Yeah. But the big takeaway here is that the new power players on the global scene won't necessarily be the ones with the cheapest labor or the biggest oil fields.
Yeah.
It's going to be the ones who control the most advanced computing power, the biggest, juiciest data sets.
Exactly. It's all about who can leverage AI to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of their industries.
So it's not about physical stuff anymore, not really. It's about controlling the digital world, the information flowing through it.
It is. It's a completely different kind of power, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this shift, it's getting even more intense because of something called, and I love this term, transaction costs.
Oh, yeah. Transaction costs. Love that.
I mean, think of it as like the friction in any economic exchange. The time, the effort, the money it takes to find a buyer, haggle over prices, and make sure the deal actually goes through. AI is ridiculously good at slashing those costs, making everything smoother. And that's what's fueling those disruptive businesses like Uber and DoorDash. AI connects supply and demand instantly, like magic. It's reshaping entire industries.
Like, think of all the middlemen, the go-betweens that AI is just poof, making disappear. Travel agents, stockbrokers, all those traditional roles AI can connect buyers and sellers directly, crazy efficiently. That's the power of low transaction costs in action.
And, to really wrap our heads around the futures we might be heading towards, I think it's helpful to look at some fictional examples, some thought experiments.
Oh, for sure. Like, how would this stuff actually play out?
Exactly. So this article we're diving into, it mentions Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. There's this AI in the story, Mike,
Yeah.
that basically runs the whole lunar colony's resources, like everything.
It's super interesting because it mirrors a lot of the anxieties we have today about really powerful AI systems, right? Like, Mike is super efficient, don't get me wrong, but the story raises these big questions about, like, who's really in control? Who's accountable when things go wrong?
Yeah, like what about ethics, transparency, all that?
Exactly. If a tiny handful of companies or governments are the ones with this massive computing power and the super sophisticated AI that comes with it, what does that mean for the rest of us?
Right. Are we just at the mercy of these algorithms?
It's a valid concern. You've got these algorithms making decisions that impact everyone, but who's checking their work? Who's responsible when they mess up?
It's that classic fear of putting all our eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah.
But then the article throws in a totally different, more hopeful possibility. It mentions Einem Bank's Culture series.
Ah, the culture novels. Yeah, they paint this picture of a post-scarcity society. Like, no one wants for anything, all managed by these super advanced, mostly benevolent AI minds.
Benevolent AI, that's a nice thought.
Right. These AI minds, they handle all the resources, make sure everyone's got what they need, good quality of life. People are free to pursue their passions, whatever they're into. It's this utopian ideal suggesting that AI could actually lead to a world of abundance where everything's shared fairly.
So on one hand, we've got potential for centralized control, maybe even some ethical nightmares, and on the other, this hopeful vision of AI making the world a better place for everybody.
Two very different paths, yeah.
Now let's shift gears a little and talk about the concept of capital itself in this new AI-driven world.
Let's do it.
This article dives into some classic economic theories here. It starts with Marx, Karl Marx, the OG.
Right. Can't talk about capital without at least the nod to Marx.
His theory of surplus value, right?
Mhm.
Marx basically argued that the profit capitalists make, it comes from the surplus value created by workers. It's the value they produce beyond what they get paid in wages.
Any extra, the profit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the catch with AI. It's changing who's actually creating that surplus value. If machines, algorithms, are doing more and more of the productive work, where's the profit coming from?
Right, that's the million-dollar question. Like, if the algorithms and data are the real drivers behind production, then whoever owns those algorithms, that data, and the computing power, they're the ones raking in the surplus value.
And that brings up this huge concern about inequality, right?
Yeah, if ownership isn't spread out, if it's all concentrated in the hands of a few, then AI could just make economic inequality way worse.
Makes you think. Now, the article then throws in another thinker, Ludwig Lockman. His view is that capital is a complementary system.
Yeah, Lockman, he's got this interesting perspective. It's like a reminder that even with super advanced AI, production still depends on a bunch of different things working together.
Okay, give us an example.
Sure, think of like a modern restaurant. You've got the physical stuff, the ovens and all the equipment, that's capital. You still have human staff, at least for now in some roles, that's labor. You've got the software managing reservations, probably getting more and more AI powered, and then the whole complex web of the supply chain, getting all the ingredients and whatnot.
Yeah.
AI can definitely optimize a lot of these pieces, make them more efficient, but it doesn't necessarily mean humans are out of the picture.
Yeah, you still need someone to, make sure all those pieces work together, right?
Exactly. You still need human strategy, oversight, making sure the whole system runs smoothly. So yeah, AI is not operating in a vacuum. It's woven into our existing economic structures, at least for now.
For now, yeah. But things change. And the article also brings up Schumpeter's idea of creative destruction.
Oh, Schumpeter. Always a good time.
It's like this core principle. New technologies like AI, they're going to disrupt things. Old industries will decline. Jobs will be lost. It's inevitable.
It's that constant churn, right?
But, and this is the crucial part, new industries and new jobs will also emerge.
Exactly. We're already seeing it. Jobs in AI development, data science, even AI ethics. These fields are booming.
So there will be opportunities. But here's the catch. This disruption might happen way faster than anything we've seen before. The speed and the scale, it's unprecedented. So we have to be ready to adapt, learn new skills, be flexible if we want to thrive in these new fields.
Right. Complacency is not an option.
Yeah, definitely not. So it's not just about whether new opportunities will appear, it's about whether they'll appear fast enough and whether you'll have what it takes to seize them, right?
Totally. And this brings us to this whole issue of labor displacement and how the traditional ways we build wealth, they might not be as reliable anymore.
Okay, like what?
Well, traditionally, people have built wealth through wages, saving a portion of their income, and then investing, right? Like investing in companies that rely on human labor.
Yeah, makes sense.
But if AI starts taking over a lot of those productive roles, those traditional paths to wealth might not be as open to everyone anymore.
Interesting. And the article brings up John Maynard Keynes, another big name in economics, and his idea of technological unemployment.
Keynes. Yeah, and this isn't a brand new concern. We've seen automation replace jobs throughout history. I mean, think about the agricultural revolution, the rise of factories and assembly lines, those all displaced workers.
Big shifts.
But the argument is that things are different this time around. The stakes are higher.
Why is that?
Because AI isn't just automating repetitive manual tasks, it's going after intellectual tasks, even creative tasks.
Whoa.
Think about things like legal research, financial analysis, even stuff like art and music.
Yeah, we're seeing AI doing that now.
So this has the potential to disrupt a much wider range of jobs, white-collar jobs, even remote jobs that people thought were pretty safe.
Right, things are changing fast. And this is where that fictional example from Neil Stephenson's The Diamond Age becomes super relevant, I think.
The Diamond Age, yeah, great book.
It has this thing called the Young Ladies Illustrated Primer, which is like this super advanced AI tutor.
Ah, the primer.
And it paints this picture of a world where access to knowledge, to technology is super unequal, which could lead to, even more division in society.
Yeah, that's one possible outcome. Right.
But the story also has this key takeaway, this kind of hopeful message.
Yeah, it shows the potential to democratize access to advanced education, to knowledge. Like, imagine if everyone had access to a tool like the primer, the possibilities would be incredible.
That's the key, right? Making sure everyone has a chance.
Exactly. So in our world, we need to be really careful to prevent AI monopolization. Investing in public AI education, developing open source AI platforms, and encouraging data sharing, all that stuff is crucial. It's about making sure the benefits of AI are spread out, not just hoarded by a few powerful companies or governments.
It's about leveling the playing field, right? Giving everyone the tools and the knowledge to succeed in this AI-driven world.
Precisely. And the article also points out another vulnerability, especially for folks in remote jobs.
Oh, what's that?
Well, a lot of the tasks that remote workers do, things like customer service, data entry, even drafting reports, AI can often do those things more accurately and cheaper. So there's a real risk that remote job opportunities could actually shrink because of automation.
So we've talked about the challenges, the potential downsides, but let's focus on what we can actually do about it, right? What are some achievable solutions?
Definitely. Let's get practical.
The article outlines a few strategies for economic adaptation. One of them is this idea of control of key resources.
Yeah, control of key resources.
Right.
It's about recognizing that the real sources of power in this new economy are the data pipelines, the algorithms themselves, and the computing infrastructure.
The digital building blocks, right?
Exactly. So for a more equitable future, we need to make sure access to these resources is more democratic. It's not about giving everything away for free, but about creating a more level playing field where more people can innovate and create.
It's like if those essential resources are controlled by just a handful of entities, it stifles competition and just makes inequality worse.
For sure. And then there's this concept of data ownership, which you've probably heard about. It's getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah, data ownership, big topic.
It's all about giving individuals more control over their personal data. Like, if your data is being used to train AI systems to generate profits, shouldn't you have a say in how it's used?
And maybe even get a cut of the profits.
Exactly. That's the idea. It's about giving individuals a more direct stake in the value their data creates.
Okay, that makes sense. And then there's this idea of universal basic capital. It's kind of like UBI, universal basic income, but with a twist.
Yeah, it's UBI, but instead of just giving everyone a basic income, it's about giving them a share of the ownership in AI-driven companies.
Whoa, okay. How would that work?
So imagine, like, a portion of the shares in these big AI companies are held in a public trust, and the dividends or profits from that trust are distributed to everyone, like a universal dividend.
Interesting. So everyone benefits from the success of these AI companies, not just the super rich.
Precisely. It's a way to spread the wealth generated by automation more broadly.
And then building on that idea, there's universal basic AI.
Ah, yes. Universal basic AI.
Tell us about that.
So this idea is kind of inspired by the vision of an intelligent internet. It's about making sure everyone has access to AI tools, especially in key areas like education, healthcare, and job training.
So like AI tutors for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine AI-powered personalized learning platforms that are accessible to everyone, or AI tools that help people find jobs and learn new skills. By making these resources available, we could potentially shrink the gap between the haves and have-nots, give everyone a chance to participate in this new economy.
That's powerful. And then the last strategy the article highlights is entrepreneurial opportunities.
Oh yeah, this is a big one. AI has the potential to really lower the cost of starting and running a business. It's like suddenly you don't need to be a giant corporation to have access to powerful tools and capabilities.
So individuals have a chance to compete.
Exactly. This could lead to this whole wave of innovation, people creating their own businesses, their own opportunities. It's about empowerment, giving individuals more agency in this changing world.
So those are some tangible strategies, some real things we can do. But the article goes even further and suggests we might need to rethink some of our bigger economic structures. It brings up something called post-Keynesian economics.
Post-Keynesian economics, yeah. It's a school of thought that emphasizes the role of government in the economy. The idea that the economy isn't always going to fix itself, that sometimes it needs a little help.
Okay, so what did that have to do with AI?
Well, if AI leads to widespread job displacement and people have less money to spend because they're not working, the economy could really struggle. Post-Keynesians would argue that the government needs to step in, maybe through things like universal basic income or public investment in job creation to keep the economy stable.
So it's about making sure people have money to spend to keep the economy moving.
Exactly. And those are some of the ideas being explored right now, UBI, government-funded jobs, as ways to adapt to a future with lots of automation. Of course, UBI is a controversial topic, lots of debate about how to fund it, whether it would discourage people from working, whether it's even sustainable in the long run.
Lots to consider.
Yeah, definitely. These are complex issues with no easy answers.
Yeah.
But we need to be having these conversations, experimenting with different approaches to figure out what works.
And speaking of exploring different ideas, the article throws in another fictional example. Cory Doctorow's Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom. It's got this fascinating concept called woofie.
Oh, woofie. Yeah, that's a cool one. It's like a reputation-based currency. Instead of money, people earn woofie by doing things that benefit the community, by being helpful and contributing.
So it's like social capital turned into actual currency.
Yeah, it's a way to think about value in a different way, especially in a world where material goods might become more abundant because of AI. If AI can produce so much stuff, maybe we need new ways to measure value in exchange.
Makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of potential post-scarcity scenarios, the article also mentions Banks' Culture series again, with its economies based on exchange and reputation, moving even further away from traditional money.
Right, it's all about challenging our assumptions, like what does value even mean in a world where AI can produce almost anything we need? It's a mind-bending question.
For sure. So we've talked about how AI impacts labor and capital, but the article also gets into some broader issues, like network effects in AI platforms.
Network effects. It's the idea that the more people use a platform, the more valuable it becomes. Think of companies like Google or Amazon. Their AI platforms get better and better as they collect more data, which attracts more users, which creates even more data, and so on. It's a powerful cycle.
So the early leaders have a huge advantage,
A
right?
huge advantage. And that raises concerns about monopolies, about a few companies having too much control over these essential technologies.
So what can we do about that?
The article emphasizes the importance of interoperability and standardization. It's about making sure different AI systems can talk to each other, that data can be shared more easily. That way, it's harder for one company to dominate the entire ecosystem. It's about creating a more open and inclusive AI landscape.
This was about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. And the article also introduces this vision of an intelligent internet, which is interesting. It's about expanding our definition of value beyond just economic metrics, looking at things like sustainability, inclusivity, and ethical innovation.
So it's not just about making money, it's about making a better world.
Exactly. Like, how can we use AI to optimize resource use, to address climate change? How can we develop AI in a way that benefits everyone, that bridges divides instead of creating new ones? How do we make sure ethical considerations are baked into these technologies from the start? It's a whole different way of thinking about AI, not just as a tool for profit, but as a tool for progress.
So AI becomes a tool for good, for solving problems, not just for making a quick buck.
Right. It's about using this powerful technology to create a better future for everyone.
I like that. Now, the last thing the article touches on is the whole idea of managing this transition to an AI-driven economy, and it emphasizes the importance of governance.
Yeah, governance is key. Like the rules, the laws, the norms, all that stuff plays a huge role in shaping how this all plays out. We need to get it right.
So what does that look like in practice?
Well, it means working together globally to create sensible policies around data rights, to prevent monopolies, to ensure access to AI technologies is fair and equitable. It also means exploring new economic models, like cooperatives or public ownership in these key AI industries.
So it's not just about leaving it to the market to sort itself out.
No, definitely not. This is too important to just leave to chance. And one of the most important things we can do, especially for individuals, is to focus on education.
Education, always.
Yeah, but we need to be teaching people the skills that AI is less likely to be good at, you know?
Mm.
Things like critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving, adaptability.
The things that make us human.
Exactly.
Mm.
Because those skills will be in high demand in a world where AI is doing more and more of the routine tasks.
It's about making sure people are prepared for the future of work, whatever that looks like.
Totally. So to wrap this all up, I think it's safe to say that AI is fundamentally changing the relationship between labor and capital. It's a massive shift with huge potential benefits, but also some serious risks.
No doubt. It's both exciting and a little scary, right?
Definitely. But the key takeaway here is that AI isn't some unstoppable force. It's a tool. And how that tool is used, whether it leads to greater prosperity or greater inequality, that's up to us.
That's a good point. It's our choices that matter.
Exactly. And the article uses those contrasting visions from science fiction, the abundance and cooperation of Star Trek versus the division and inequality in the Diamond Age, as a reminder that we have a choice in which future we create.
The future's not set in stone. We have agency.
We do. And that brings us to a final thought, something for you all to ponder. Even though AI is changing the game, the responsibility for building a just and equitable future that still rests with us, with humanity. So ask yourselves, what role do you want to play in shaping this future? What values should guide your decisions? What can you do in your own life, in your community, to make sure this technological revolution benefits everyone?
Those are great questions to think about. So thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the future of labor and capital in the age of AI.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you found it insightful, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into the forces shaping our world. Stay curious out there.
Stay curious.